Welcome to MyMostLife.com's Ahead of the Curve series. Each week, we feature someone who's inspiring others and making a difference. This week, we have. Welcome to Ahead of the Curve Most Life's series for interviewing inspiring folks who are making a difference in their world. Today, we have Paul Frankenberg from Focus Search Partners. Paul, welcome.
Hello, Maureen. Good to see you.
Yes, thanks. Paul is a founder and managing partner of Focus Search Partners, which is a top-notch healthcare recruiting firm. He recruits for both venture and equity-based healthcare firms. He and I know each other for several years now, and he is always hard at work finding the best executive talent for emerging healthcare companies. And one thing I like about you, Paul, is that you always look for that nitty-gritty match, and you are a matchmaker by trade. And we are real excited to talk to you today about speaking and how people can make a difference by speaking properly and kind of owning their power, etc. So, welcome to our Ahead of the Curve series.
Great to be here. Great to see you. I am a big fan of yours. I think this is fantastic. So thanks for having me.
All right, thanks a lot. And so, to kind of start off, tell us a little bit about your business and kind of how you match people up a little bit so we can get a idea of what the world is like as a busy healthcare executive recruiter.
You bet. So I've been doing this 15 years, started the firm in '01. I've done a little over 500 searches, and what to me, it's a wonderful business because you get to meet super people like you, executives, both on the client hiring side as well as the candidate side that we're recruiting. We work nationally. The fun thing in preparing for this, I was thinking, how many people have I interviewed in my career? And on an average search, I'll talk to, meet with about 100 people per search. So then there's just a lot of other marketing and general conversations.
Right.
So the number easily can go over 10,000 people, which is fun because as you just distill down some of the questions we're going to talk about, I think it really does come down to some simple things.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's so you're in the business of speaking effectively. So so describe how you've had to hone in your speaking skills and what works for you professionally.
Well, that's a great question. In terms of for me personally, I've had to learn how to ask questions and realize the person in control of the conversation is the one who's asking the questions. And so then you've got to, I think, just be aware of the subtleties, the eye contact people have, the body language they give you, the tone they give you, and just be willing to probe a little bit and go around. So a lot of it is experiential, which we'll talk about here, on what people have done and how they've done it, and what makes them tick, and what drives their passion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really just been trying to be aware not only of the words they're telling me, but the tone and the language by which they're telling me.
Right. Interesting. So you have to read people um, very carefully. And, in managing people for all the years that I've managed teams, I really emphasized a lot on not only body position, but also tone and facial expressions. I mean, there's a certain group of people, not necessarily group, but there's certain people who their facial expressions might say something different than what they're feeling. So that's always interesting. But how do you suggest people use their speaking or, which basically all encompasses communication skills to position themselves? What's some of the great ways that people can use their communication skills and speaking to enhance who they are?
One, I think it's what you say and how you say it. So a lot of times you can think about it sitting with your girlfriends or business colleagues and you're having some conversation. Oftentimes it's not the words you say, if it's a yes answer or a no answer, but it's the tone, it's the quick to your response, it's the energy. And often that tells the listener, the person you're communicating with, more than the actual words you're telling them. And so I think it's both a balance of what you say and how you say it. But I also think it's the nonverbals. That's the second point.
Mm-hmm.
It's engaged. Are they sitting up front really excited about it? Do they seem distracted? We've all been, even with friends at lunch, and you keep looking at your phone, and you're thinking, I'm trying to talk to you, and you're really not focused on what I'm trying to talk about. So if you extrapolate that to a professional setting, it's much more the same and probably magnified because it's business. So I think it is a balance of what you say, how you say it, along with the nonverbal as well.
Right. So, Paul, just a little side road here. The millennial generation grew up with cell phones, and it's part of their world. I've personally noticed a difference in their casualness with their devices. How's that kind of translating in the business world? What are the expectations there?
Well, it's going to be interesting, I think, especially as that generation grows up into more management and senior management roles and what it has. But today sitting here, I would tell you, I think a lot of the people who have successful careers are probably a lot of the same things that were required 20 years ago when it was a different generation. So I think a lot of it is just really being engaged. And I think it is okay to shut off distractions and really have a conversation with somebody. So, do people keep cell phones on the table? Yes. Do they keep them up versus down so they can see what's happening? I guess the answer to that is yes. But if you think about really being interested in a conversation and want to engage somebody, you really have to be there with them fully into the topic of conversation. And so I think whatever your generation, I think there's an engagement
Right.
factor. You got
Yeah.
to be aware.
Right. Right. So I agree with that, and I personally um, am one of the people who sits with folks and gets a little annoyed sometimes if people aren't paying attention. I guess I'm someone who likes to engage people and kind of feel them in a conversation. So for me, it's kind of important that people are focused. We are evolving in society and how communication is coming at us from a variety of different ways. But at the end of the day, we're still human beings, and relatability is super important, I think, for getting ahead and for also just getting along, right?
Yeah, I was at Starbucks the other day and I saw a young group of people sitting there talking, and I was engaging with them and just asking, "What do y'all do?" And thinking, "What are y'all all out and about doing?" And they said, "Well," just kind of laughed because it was a group of probably 6 or 7 young people sitting together just talking live, and obviously playing off the device type of FaceTime and just talking to each other. That's terrific. I mean, that really is a good engagement. So I am probably old school in that way, and I think that's a good reason.
Right. So we talked more about tangible and intangible communication. You recently had an experience where someone kind of rocked it and made themselves known. I think that that's an important aspect to kind of when you talk, especially if you're not just one on one, but if you're talking to greater than one person, kind of making sure you're emanating the proper energy. Tell us about an experience where you saw someone really take advantage of all that they had to offer in presenting a topic and presenting something.
You bet. And this is probably different than a norm, but it's just a timing factor. I'm on the board at the Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt, which is a wonderful place. And we had a board meeting earlier this week, and there's 40-ish people that are there, men, women, most of us older than not. But it's just a wonderful group of people around Middle Tennessee. And one of the speakers that came in was a 12-year-old girl that had just finished her cancer treatment. And I say just, we're talking a matter of several months ago. And
Wow.
she talked to us just about what it was like to be a patient at the hospital, which is a wonderful thing for us to hear. And there's a lot of ways you could do that. 12-year-old girl, I mean, that's just a tough stage. And to be put in front of 40, 35-year-old people that are 40 plus years old. And she just nailed it. She started with a joke, which I think made everybody love her instantly. The joke was, two lions are eating a clown. What did one lion say to the other? And the answer is, does he taste funny to you? And I thought, what a cute joke. And she had notes, she was prepared, and she didn't read from it, but she just talked. And she just talked about what a 12-year-old talks about. She didn't try and necessarily pretend she knows what a 45-year-old guy is thinking looking at her. It just gave a sense of playing with my girlfriends. I'm diagnosed. My whole world is turned upside down. I had beautiful long hair. Now I don't have any. It's all meant through her course of treatment.
Yeah.
And now that she's clean bill of health from a diagnosis perspective, what does that mean for life going forward? And what is her outlook on life? And it was just, I mean, we've all met them, right? Meet those young people and you think, wow, if
Right.
she continues on the path she is on, whatever she does, she's going to set the world on fire. And so to me, the takeaway from it was one, I think she recognized she could own the crowd, and she did it by just having a funny joke to break the ice.
Yeah.
Two, she wonderful energy. But three, she was just prepared. She was just talking about her points and wanted to communicate what it was like to be 12. And I think everybody in that room had a good sense for what she was trying to express.
Right. So she spoke with a great deal of authenticity. I think that's a word that's kind of resonating now with a lot of people. don't talk like someone you saw, talk for yourself. And she sounds like she was really being her.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, find what your passion is and do that, right? I mean, everybody says be the best you,
Yes.
and she's an impressive her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I had the pleasure of listening to a young cancer patient years ago when I worked at a hospital here in South Florida, and I had the same experience. She was too young for how she came across. And I don't know if this young woman was, she seemed probably older than her years, but just a lot of energy. It's almost like they're angels touched by this horrible disease, and they're touching so many lives positively from it. It's just amazing. So I can feel I can feel some of what you must have felt in that room listening to this young woman who was handed a bad deck of cards.
Oh, it was fantastic. And the contrast to that is meeting executives that want to do something in their career or people that want to do something professionally, and they're not doing it today, but they tell you they want to go this way, and you just ask them why, and
Yeah.
the answer just falls flat.
Hmm.
And they want to get involved in pick it, right? Athletics, working in professional something, or working in healthcare,
Uh huh.
or working in services. But in terms of talking about what the industry is doing, or maybe thinking about some industry trade groups, have they gone to anything to learn? And it's just no, no, no. And so it's just kind of a very different experience if you can contrast those two. And so this girl all of a sudden just stands up. To your point, she is well beyond her years.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can tell by obviously all of your years of interview skills, but you can obviously tell when someone's not really kind of bringing their energy and commitment, not only to the conversation but also to what it is that they're saying.
That's right.
So not being aligned with the words that are coming out of the mouth and not getting the resonance of the energy, and they're not committed to what they're saying.
That's right. I heard a comment that I believe that people say if you want to know what's important to somebody, look in their checkbook, right? Whatever they spend money on is probably what's important to them. And so I think from a communication perspective, what you tell me is important is great. But again, it gets back to how you tell me and what are the pieces that fit around that. So we get a lot of people who want to be in healthcare for a variety of reasons.
Right.
But in healthcare is great. A lot of people want to get in, but either what skill do you bring that you think people need? And a lot of people will say, I don't know, I'm good at something. That's a pretty weak answer.
Yeah.
What does healthcare mean to you, or why are you passionate about it? And those that don't have an answer, if you think about it just from a competitive perspective, and you have 10 people lined up, and three or four give you that dull answer, and you have this 12-year-old girl stand up with power, it's easy to see who wins, right?
And you're keeping her name and her cell phone number for a CEO job in 20 years, right?
Why not? Pipeline development, Maureen, right?
She's going to be a
And
star. I have a saying that how you do anything is how you do everything. And you said look in someone's checkbook and you'll know what their values are. It resonates everything. I mean, look at how people drive, or look how they keep their car, or things like that. So I do really believe that this young woman that you talked about will indeed be super successful no matter what she does, um, because she's made of that kind of stuff.
so say that again. How you do everything.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
That's great. I may need to write that down.
Yeah, you do. I had recently conducted a mastery series class. It was 4 weeks, and I had some students who dropped out. And I'm just kind of curious, if that's something that is common for those individuals. And I had a couple of folks who were on every call, every session, very engaged, and you can just kind of see who people are by what they do, and it's interesting.
The thing I've always liked about you is you can distill something down to an interesting thought. And to get back to what I've even seen with you, we talk about management. You and I talked about this before. If somebody's not doing something up to the expectation you need or they can deliver at, there are people out there who will get mad or rant and rave or get red faced and mad or use language that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
But I remember you made to somebody once where you said, "I need you to do better."
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, you can say that just really calm. You can say it really simply, and it hits like a hammer the person. But it's a very, I think after it settles down, I think it's a very welcoming comment.
Right. Right. Well, it certainly gives across the confidence that you have in that person to do better. It's an assumptive, if it's assumptive comment, right? Because in it is, I know you can do better and you're capable of it. So, yes. Well, this is on, the interview is on Paul Frankenberg's tips for success. And I appreciate you sharing with us what inspires you, Paul, to live your most life.
I've thought about that a lot, and maybe it's the same answer a lot of people give. I mean, to me, the most important things are family and faith, and you try and live by those. Professionally, in the executive search business, I am as competitive as they come, as competitive as you or other people that you know, and so I want to be exceptional in the work that I do. But I'm really trying to balance to make sure it's not at the expense of the things that are really important to me.
Right.
And so I think constantly balancing that. So my wife, we have two young boys that our faith are very important, and then just making sure that our professional life matches up and we keep things in line is really the important and the things that try and drive me day to day.
Right. And I know you didn't mention this to talk about giving back, but obviously you give back. You're a volunteer board member on the Children's Hospital Board, and I'm sure that that's helping them and it's giving back to your community. So to me, that's also an important part of moving toward a definite purpose in life and having certain achievements is the ability to put some of your time and effort toward giving back, and that's always a part of the most life approach. So that's great stuff. Any final tips to our audience, Paul?
No, I think just the communication piece is important, and the fact you're doing this is wonderful. You're kind to invite me in, and I just think the one thing we haven't talked about that I would add, I think, is just how people talk about what they've done professionally. I think in the world of doing work in today's environment, especially, it's very much a team. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Paul and Kareem together can do some really special things. But when I go talk to people about what we've accomplished, it's oftentimes, well, I did this, I did that. And so tying those things together in conversation is tough, especially if it's an interview discussion or a
Yes.
presentation of what we've done. And so I think it's just really important to understand that it is an I that does, but it's a we that accomplishes. And so I think you got to make sure that you talk in those terms. It takes a community to do a lot of things.
Right.
And so as much as you can talk about that and recognize that, I think all the better.
And that's a great phraseology as well. So that'll be my takeaway from this conversation. It's the I who does, but the we who accomplishes.
That's right. That's right.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, Paul, thank you very much for joining us on the Ahead of the Curve series. I really appreciate your time today, and I know that your words will be inspiring to our most life audience, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're great. Thanks, Maureen.